Welcome back. Leader of Opposition People's National Party Mark Golding says the PNP will be seeking a court declaration on Prime Minister Andrew Holness's re-imposition of states of public emergency SOEs. Mr. Golding says the back-to-back use of SOEs is an attempt to circumvent the limits of the Constitution. He notes that the PNP has sought and received legal advice on the two most recent SOEs that were declared on the 6th and the 28th of December. According to the opposition leader, Prime Minister Andrew Holness needs to be taught the rule of law.
There is nothing to suggest that these two states of emergency were declared as a result of any changed circumstances after the November state of emergency failed to get the required two-thirds support of the Senate. These two recent states of emergency in December are therefore clearly an attempt to circumvent the limits that the Constitution intended to place on the Prime Minister's powers. I believe that it is likely that the court would declare this recent practice to be unconstitutional. It is of fundamental constitutional importance and needs to be resolved once and for all. This Prime Minister really needs to be taught to live within the rule of law.
On Wednesday, the Prime Minister declared states of public emergency in Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Anne, St. Catherine, Clarendon, Westmoreland, Hanover and St. James. The opposition has repeatedly said it will not support the extension of the measure. Meanwhile, Mr. Golding says the last time he and Mr. Holness had a discussion about Royal talks related to SOEs was on November 8th. Golding says that discussion was short.
I really have to ask myself, is Andrew for real? He has had no discussion with me since the 8th of November, and that was a very brief conversation in Parliament behind the Speaker's chair. At that time, he told me he was looking at three options to respond to the crime problem, and I urged him to pursue something other than another state of emergency, as he was well aware of our disagreement with the way in which he has been using states of emergency since 2017.
During Wednesday's media briefing, the Prime Minister says he's made several attempts to get the opposition on board. A former Federal Bureau of Investigation FBI agent who for over 3 decades held key posts in the Bureau's counterintelligence, counterterrorism and intelligence divisions says several missteps were made by Jamaican government officials in recent meetings with American authorities to solicit aid in flushing out criminal actors and those who are driving crimes in the island. According to the former FBI operative Wilfred Rattigan, those encounters and the utterances by the Prime Minister afterwards lack diplomacy. Rattigan of Jamaican by birth made his assessment following Wednesday's indication by Prime Minister Andrew Holness that the government has provided United States law enforcement agencies with the names of 30 Jamaicans living in America who are behind murders and other crimes here in order to have them tracked down and brought to book. Mr. Rattigan, who also served as acting section chief of transnational organized crime with the FBI, said in the meantime expressed doubts as to how effective those meetings were, given that the Prime Minister did not meet with the heads of the various law enforcement agencies, but instead dialogued with executives of those agencies. Mr. Rattigan charged that with his experience in setting up security meetings, he has never seen the leader of a country come to the United States to meet with law enforcement officials and met with them in a crowded room. He added that the meeting should have been set up for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives Director, the Drug Enforcement Administration DEA Director, FBI Director, and they should have been set up separately. He said the type of meeting that was held could have been done simply by a phone. The National Housing Trust NHT wishes to advise customers that starting January 2023, the NHT will begin accepting applications for the refund of contributions made in 2015. Eligible contributors are being reminded that applications for contributors' refund must be made online. Customers may apply for their refund via the website www.nht.gov.jm and also via their media app, their mobile app NHT Online, which is available in both Google and the App Store. In addition, the NHT will extend the cash refund grant to eligible public sector workers for the upcoming year 2023. Customers are also being reminded to be on the lookout for scams during this period for individuals purporting to be representatives of the NHT. The NHT has observed an increase in fictitious communication, asking individuals to provide payment or bank information to access some NHT services, in particular contribution refund. These are not affiliated with the NHT and are fake, the agency said. The Biden administration has extended interview waivers for certain non-immigrant visa applicants from the Caribbean and other regions. The announcement came as the government says it recognizes the positive impact of travel to the United States by foreign students and temporary work visa holders on the U.S. economy and is committed to facilitating non-immigrant travel and further reduce the visa wait time. The U.S. Department of State, in a statement, said that they are pleased to announce that the Secretary of State has made a determination expanding and extending the authority of the consular officers to waive in-person interviews for certain non-immigrant visa categories through to December 31, 2023. It says consular officers are authorized until then to continue to waive in-person interviews on a case-by-case basis for certain first-time and or renewing applicants. The State Department said these categories of visas are for temporary agriculture and non-agriculture workers in 2 visas, students F and M visas, and academic exchange visitors academic J visas. The visa waivers are also extended to certain beneficiaries of approved individuals petitioning for non-immigrant temporary work visa in the categories of persons in specialty occupation H-1B visa, trainees or special education visitors H-3 visas, intra-company transferees L visas, individuals with extraordinary abilities or achievement O visas, athletes, artists, and entertainment P visas, participants in international culture exchange program Q visas, and qualified persons. And Jamaica is looking to forge a further closer tie with Cuba for the further development of the local agricultural sector. Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Pernell Charles Jr. said this is the potential for the countries to join efforts in research and development for pest and weed management and alternatives for animal feed and fertilizers. Minister Charles Jr. added that the areas of focus will be to drive their Grow Smart, Eat Smart strategy, which they welcome Cuba to join. Another important part of the continued collaboration that can be better refined is engagement as it relates to the expertise for repair of equipment used in farming operations. And the Jamaica Defense Force JDF has remained mum after a service member reportedly sustained a self-inflicted wound while on duty at a checkpoint in St. Andrew Thursday morning.
Out the Jacob, the con artist, the trickster, the manipulator, when he found that his brother had been in the field and he was weary